Maya Johnson had been part of Langston Enterprises for over a decade. Every morning, before the first rays of sunlight touched the city skyline, she was already awake, preparing herself for another long day. She worked as a janitor in one of the largest global companies in the city, a place filled with bustling offices, endless meetings, and bright ambitions. But to most people at Langston Enterprises, Maya was just the woman with the mop and bucket, someone who belonged in the background, quietly cleaning up after everyone else. She moved through the hallways like a ghost, careful not to disturb the busy executives and employees who hurried past her. Her footsteps were soft on the polished floors, and her presence barely registered. When someone glanced her way, it was usually with a nod of recognition that quickly faded. Few stopped to say hello, and fewer still knew her name. She was the invisible cleaner, the silent helper whose work was noticed only when it was not done. Maya's days were filled with routine. Wiping windows, emptying trash cans, restocking supplies, and polishing surfaces until they gleamed. She took pride in her work, even if it went unappreciated. The company was a complex machine, and she was just one small but necessary part of it. After finishing her shift, Maya never headed out to fancy restaurants or glamorous events like many of her coworkers. Instead, she returned to a modest apartment in a quiet neighborhood. There, her real life began. She was not just a janitor. She was the oldest sister, the caretaker, the provider. Her parents had passed away years ago, and since then, Maya had taken responsibility for her 3 younger siblings. Their future depended on her. Her evenings were a different kind of busy. She cooked dinner for her siblings, helped them with their homework, and listened to their stories about school and friends. Despite the exhaustion that weighed on her shoulders, she never showed it. She wanted to be strong for them. They were her motivation to keep going, to push through the long hours and the tiredness. What few people knew was that Maya was far from ordinary. From a young age, she had an extraordinary talent for languages. She had spent years learning and mastering 9 different languages: Mandarin, Spanish, French, Arabic, and several others. Her mind was a treasure trove of words, phrases, and accents. She could switch between languages effortlessly, a skill she practiced quietly in the solitude of her room. Yet, despite her impressive knowledge, Maya never spoke about it at work. She kept her abilities hidden beneath the uniform and the cleaning supplies. She feared that if anyone discovered her secret, she would be judged or dismissed. In a world where people often made quick assumptions based on appearance and position, Maya believed her place was behind the scenes. This belief shaped her daily life. She stayed out of conversations, avoided eye contact during meetings she cleaned after, and chose to remain unnoticed. She watched the world of Langston Enterprises from a distance, dreaming of opportunities she thought were impossible. But life has a way of changing when least expected. One ordinary morning, Maya's quiet routine was about to be broken. An unexpected moment would bring her talents into the light and challenge everything she had accepted about herself. The invisible cleaner was about to become seen. That morning began like any other. Maya moved through the company cafeteria with practiced ease, pushing her cleaning cart carefully between tables as employees gathered for breakfast and coffee. The hum of conversation filled the room, but Maya kept to herself, focusing on her task. She wiped down tables, swept the floor, and refilled napkin holders, all while tuning out the noise around her. Unbeknownst to Maya, David Langston, the CEO of Langston Enterprises, had chosen the cafeteria for his breakfast that day. David was a man known for his sharp mind and decisive leadership. He had built the company from the ground up and was constantly searching for ways to improve and expand the business internationally. His days were filled with meetings, reports, and strategic planning. As David sat down to enjoy a rare quiet moment, his attention was caught by a voice. It was soft but confident, and it rose above the background chatter. He turned his head and saw Maya standing by a table, speaking quietly but fluently in a language he did not recognize. Curious, David listened closer. The words flowed naturally from Maya's lips, clear and precise. Then, without hesitation, she switched to another language, Spanish this time, and then to French. It was like hearing someone effortlessly switch channels on a radio. The diversity and ease of her speech surprised David. How could someone working as a janitor possess such a rare skill? He watched Maya for a moment longer. She seemed unaware of his gaze, focused on her tasks but speaking softly to herself or perhaps to an imaginary listener. David's mind raced. Language skills of this caliber were highly valuable in a global company. They could open doors, create connections, and bridge cultures. Was this woman really just a cleaner? Or was there something more beneath the surface? David finished his coffee and made a decision. He wanted to know more. He approached Maya as she finished cleaning a table and gently called her name. Maya looked up, startled to see the CEO standing before her. Her heart beat faster. This was not something she had ever imagined. "Good morning, Maya," David said with a warm but serious tone. "I couldn't help but overhear you speaking. Your language skills are impressive. Would you be willing to come to my office for a conversation?" Maya blinked in surprise. She hesitated, caught between disbelief and hope. The offer felt surreal. Could this be the moment she had dreamed about in silence? With a nod, she agreed. As they walked toward the elevator, Maya's mind raced. What would this meeting bring? Would she be judged? Or would someone finally see her true potential? The answer awaited just beyond the office door. This chance encounter marked the beginning of a change that would ripple through her life and the entire company. The invisible cleaner was no longer invisible. Maya entered the sleek office where David Langston sat behind a large mahogany desk. The walls were lined with books and framed photos of company milestones. Maya felt the weight of the room, the quiet hum of air conditioning mixing with her own nervous heartbeat. She was no stranger to hard work, but this was unfamiliar territory. David smiled kindly and gestured to a chair. "Please have a seat," he said. Maya sat down cautiously, still unsure of what to expect. David leaned forward, his eyes full of genuine interest. "I was amazed to hear you speak those languages so fluently this morning," David began. "Tell me, how did you learn them?" Maya took a deep breath, searching for the right words. She wasn't used to talking about herself, especially not to someone in such a high position. "I studied languages for many years," she said quietly. "Mandarin, Spanish, French, and others. I learned because I wanted to connect with people, understand different cultures, and one day work in a job where these skills mattered." David nodded encouragingly, waiting for her to continue. "But life didn't make it easy," Maya said, her voice steady despite the emotions bubbling beneath the surface. "After my parents passed away, I became the caretaker for my younger siblings. I had to support them, and I couldn't afford to wait for the perfect job. So I took this position here at Langston Enterprises to pay the bills." She looked down for a moment, then back up. "I've hidden my abilities because I was afraid of being judged, or turned away because I didn't fit the usual mold." David was silent for a moment, absorbing her words. The story behind the quiet janitor was far more powerful than he had imagined. Here was a woman who had sacrificed her dreams for family, who had kept her talents locked away in the shadows. "You have incredible strength," David said finally, "and your skills could be a huge asset to this company. We've been struggling to improve our international communication and cultural understanding. What if you helped us bridge those gaps?" Maya's eyes widened. She had dreamed of such an opportunity but never dared to hope it would come true. David stood and extended his hand. "I want to offer you a chance. A new role as cultural liaison. It's a position that doesn't exist yet, but I believe you can create it and make a real difference." Maya took his hand, her grip firm but trembling slightly. The moment was overwhelming. A mixture of relief, excitement, and a new kind of responsibility. "Thank you," she whispered. "I won't let you down." As she left the office, Maya's mind swirled with possibilities. This meeting had changed everything. The invisible cleaner was about to step into the light. Maya's days after the meeting with David were a whirlwind of emotions. The offer of becoming the company's first cultural liaison felt like stepping into a world she had only dreamed about but never dared to enter. She spent long nights thinking about how to balance her new responsibilities with the family she still cared for deeply. The weight of expectation pressed heavily on her shoulders, but so did a quiet excitement. This was a chance to rewrite her story. The following Monday, Maya walked into the office wearing her best clothes. It was her first time working in a corporate setting, and every detail, from the click of her shoes on the polished floor to the hum of computers, felt new and intimidating. The receptionists, clerks, and executives glanced her way with mixed curiosity and surprise. They had known Maya only as the janitor who cleaned the halls and emptied trash bins. Now she was someone very different. David had prepared a small introduction for her during the company's morning meeting. As the employees gathered in the conference room, murmurs filled the air. David stepped to the podium and began. "Everyone, I want to introduce a new member of our team, Maya Johnson. Maya will be taking on the role of cultural liaison, a position created specifically to enhance our international communications and partnerships. She brings with her a remarkable skill set, including fluency in 9 languages and a deep understanding of various cultures." Some staff members applauded politely, while others exchanged doubtful glances. Maya felt their eyes on her, a mixture of admiration and skepticism. Her first days were a baptism by fire. She was thrust into meetings with international clients and colleagues, asked to interpret cultural nuances, and help resolve misunderstandings that had lingered for months. Maya listened carefully, taking notes and learning quickly how to navigate the complex dynamics of the corporate world. She also enrolled in workshops and training sessions to familiarize herself with office technology and professional etiquette. Every task was a challenge, but Maya approached them with determination and humility. Not everyone was welcoming. Some employees whispered behind her back, questioning how a janitor could suddenly be part of the company's leadership team. A few even made snide remarks during meetings, attempting to undermine her confidence. Yet, Maya refused to let these doubts stop her. She reminded herself why she was there. Not just for herself, but for her siblings and the future she wanted to build. Each small victory in the office, each problem she helped solve, built her confidence. Slowly but surely, Maya was proving that talent and dedication were not defined by one's job title or background. Outside work, her life was changing too. Her family noticed a new sense of hope in her eyes. She was no longer just the caretaker who worked long hours cleaning offices. She was a woman with a purpose, breaking barriers and carving out a path that no one had expected. And for Maya Johnson, this rare opportunity was just the beginning of a remarkable journey. Word about Maya's promotion traveled fast through the halls of Langston Enterprises. For some employees, the news was a beacon of hope and inspiration. They admired Maya's quiet strength, her intelligence hidden behind the janitor's uniform for so long. To them, this was proof that hard work and talent could be recognized regardless of background. "I always thought Maya was special," whispered Lisa, a marketing assistant, to her colleague. "I'm glad the company finally sees it too." Others, however, were less enthusiastic. The sudden change stirred a mix of confusion, disbelief, and even resentment. Some employees had difficulty accepting that a janitor could step into a role that involved international strategy and corporate decision-making. Rumors began to swirl, and gossip spread like wildfire. "Who does she think she is?" muttered one senior staff member under his breath. "This is business, not a charity case." Some questioned David's judgment, speculating that the decision was made out of pity or as a public relations move. A few whispered that Maya's lack of formal business experience would be a problem. The office atmosphere grew tense in places, as cliques quietly debated the legitimacy of Maya's new role. Maya noticed the change immediately. The polite smiles had a hint of condescension, and some colleagues avoided eye contact in meetings. She overheard fragments of conversations that made her heart tighten, but she refused to let them define her. Determined to prove herself, Maya arrived early and stayed late, mastering the complex projects that came her way. She learned quickly to read the room and respond with professionalism. Her language skills became an asset during international calls, where she effortlessly translated idioms and explained cultural differences, smoothing out potential conflicts. At the same time, David remained a steady source of support. He regularly checked in, encouraging her and defending her position when doubts were raised. His belief in Maya was unwavering, a quiet reminder that sometimes, seeing beyond appearances can unlock hidden potential. As weeks passed, some skeptics began to soften. They witnessed how Maya handled difficult situations with grace and intelligence. The cultural misunderstandings that once slowed down projects started to resolve more quickly, thanks to her insights. Slowly, respect replaced doubt in many corners of the office. Still, Maya knew this was only the beginning. The road ahead would be filled with challenges, but the mixed reactions from her coworkers only fueled her determination to succeed. She was ready to face every obstacle with courage and prove that true talent could come from anywhere. Even from the shadows where she had once worked unseen, Maya's first weeks as cultural liaison were a whirlwind of new experiences. The bright, polished office spaces contrasted sharply with the quiet halls she had known as a janitor. The hum of conversations in multiple languages, the click of keyboards, and the buzz of video conferences were all unfamiliar sounds. Yet they marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life. Her days filled quickly with meetings, emails, and presentations. At first, Maya struggled to keep up with the corporate jargon and the fast pace of decision-making. The office environment was a maze of protocols and unspoken rules, far different from the straightforward routine she had been used to. She often stayed late, reading documents and studying business strategies to bridge the gap between her knowledge and the expectations of her new role. There were moments of self-doubt. In one particularly tense meeting, a senior executive questioned a translation Maya had made during a call with a client in South America. The tone was sharp and dismissive, and Maya felt the weight of years of skepticism pressing down on her. But she held her ground calmly, explaining the nuances of the language and cultural context. Her detailed knowledge won the room's respect that day. Despite the challenges, Maya's language skills and cultural awareness became invaluable. She helped to resolve misunderstandings between international partners, smoothing out communication breakdowns that had previously threatened important contracts. Her ability to think beyond language, to understand customs, traditions, and business etiquette, gave Langston Enterprises an edge in the global market. Outside the office, Maya's life remained full of responsibility. She still cared for her younger siblings, managing the household finances with careful precision. The promotion had improved their situation, but the pressure to support her family was constant. She balanced the demands of her new career with her duties at home, often sacrificing rest and personal time. Through it all, Maya's determination never wavered. Every small success in the office felt like a victory against the doubts that lingered in her mind and from others. She began to see herself not just as the woman who cleaned floors but as a bridge between cultures, an essential part of a company reaching beyond borders. Her growth did not go unnoticed. Some colleagues who had been skeptical began to approach her for advice or assistance. Invitations to lunch replaced sidelong glances. Maya found herself slowly carving out a place where she was respected for her talents, not judged by her past. Yet, the road ahead was still uncertain. There were still those who doubted her, obstacles waiting to test her resolve. Maya understood that earning respect was only the first step. She was ready to face whatever challenges came next, fueled by the knowledge that she had already overcome more than most could imagine. As the weeks turned into months, Maya's presence at Langston Enterprises became more than just noticed. It became vital. Her work as cultural liaison was making tangible differences. International deals that once stalled due to misunderstandings now moved smoothly. Conflicting schedules were coordinated with cultural sensitivity, and clients praised the company's new approach. Maya's role was quietly reshaping the company's global image. Her colleagues began to see her in a new light. The whispered doubts and sideways glances gradually faded. When Maya entered a room, heads turned not out of surprise, but with genuine respect. The quiet janitor they once overlooked had become an expert, a valued problem solver. Even some of the most skeptical employees found themselves seeking her insight on language nuances or cultural customs. Maya remained humble despite the growing recognition. She remembered the years when no one paid her any mind. Those memories fueled her dedication. Each successful project was a step not just for her career, but for the many unseen talents she believed were waiting to be discovered. One afternoon, During a meeting with a delegation from Japan, Maya's fluency and cultural knowledge made a critical difference. The Japanese executives had concerns about a contract clause, and tensions rose as misunderstandings surfaced. Maya calmly explained the subtle implications of certain phrases, offering solutions that honored both sides' intentions. The room's atmosphere shifted from tension to cooperation, and the deal moved forward. Maya's confidence blossomed with every victory. She began to mentor a small group of interns interested in international relations and languages, eager to share her passion. Her story inspired many, especially those who felt trapped by circumstances or underestimated by others. Despite the progress, Maya never forgot her roots. She continued to walk the halls, greeting staff and cleaning when needed. Her hands, once only familiar with mops and buckets, now typed reports and navigated corporate software. Yet, she never lost the grace and humility that defined her. As the company thrived under its new global strategy, David Langston publicly acknowledged Maya's contributions during a company-wide meeting. He praised her not only for her skills but for breaking down barriers and changing mindsets. The applause was heartfelt, and Maya felt a warmth she had never known before. Still, Maya's journey was far from over. There were deeper challenges ahead, balancing her expanding role, further proving her worth, and continuing to fight the biases that lingered beneath the surface. But now, she carried a growing army of supporters and the quiet certainty that she was exactly where she belonged. With her new position solidly established, Maya found herself standing at a crossroads. The cultural liaison role had opened doors she never imagined. No longer confined to the cleaning closets and empty hallways, she was now part of the conversations shaping the future of Langston Enterprises. But with opportunity came pressure. The expectations were high, and Maya felt the weight of proving herself every single day. Determined to grow beyond what she already knew, Maya enrolled in evening classes at a nearby community college. She studied international business and communications, subjects that complemented her linguistic talents and practical experience. Juggling work, study, and family responsibilities was exhausting, but each challenge made her stronger. Her younger siblings noticed the changes too. Maya's steady paycheck now stretched further, and for the first time, she could provide more than just the basics. New school supplies, fresh clothes, even occasional treats brightened their lives. The burden of worry that had shadowed their home for years began to lift. At work, Maya's confidence grew visibly. She began to speak up in meetings, sharing ideas and strategies that reflected her understanding of diverse cultures. She became a bridge not just for the company's international partners, but also within her own team, encouraging inclusivity and respect. Yet, the transition was not without moments of doubt. Occasionally, Maya caught glimpses of the old skepticism in colleagues' eyes or felt the sting of subtle exclusion during informal gatherings. She reminded herself these moments were part of the journey. Every step forward was a step toward breaking those invisible walls. Outside the office, Maya found new friendships and mentors who encouraged her ambitions. They saw her potential and pushed her to think bigger. The shy woman who once swept floors now dreamed of leading international projects and perhaps one day managing a department. One evening, as she sat studying late into the night, Maya reflected on how far she had come. The language skills she had hidden for so long were now her greatest asset. The quiet perseverance that had kept her going through hard times was shaping a future filled with promise. Maya's story was no longer just about survival. It was about thriving, about transforming setbacks into stepping stones. And as she closed her textbooks and prepared for another day, she knew this was only the beginning. Maya's rise within Langston Enterprises was not just a personal victory. It began to ripple through the entire company. What started as a quiet transformation soon sparked a shift in how talent and potential were recognized. Employees who once dismissed Maya because of her job title now found themselves reevaluating their own biases. David Langston, the CEO, became a vocal advocate for diversity and inclusion. He used Maya's story in company meetings as a powerful example of how overlooked skills could bring unexpected value. The leadership team started to implement new programs to identify hidden talents among all staff members, regardless of their roles. Some employees who initially resisted Maya's promotion slowly warmed to the change. They saw firsthand how her linguistic skills and cultural insights improved international partnerships. More contracts were signed, and communication barriers were dismantled. It was hard to argue against results. Yet not everyone adapted easily. A few colleagues still clung to old assumptions, whispering doubts behind closed doors. Maya learned to navigate this reality with grace and resilience. She focused on her work and let her achievements speak louder than any criticism. The company culture began to evolve. Staff meetings included discussions on equity and respect. Mentorship programs encouraged employees from all backgrounds to pursue growth opportunities. Maya's presence was a constant reminder that greatness could emerge from the most unexpected places. Maya herself embraced this new role as a catalyst for change. She volunteered to lead workshops on cultural awareness and language training, eager to share her knowledge and inspire others. She became more than just a liaison. She became a mentor, a symbol of what belief and support could accomplish. The walls that once divided departments and social groups started to come down. People began to listen more, judge less, and celebrate each other's strengths. Maya's journey had shown that when a company invests in people beyond labels, everyone benefits. The transformation at Langston Enterprises was ongoing, but it was real. It was fueled by the courage to see beyond the surface and the willingness to embrace change. And at the heart of it all was Maya Johnson, the janitor who spoke 9 languages and rewrote the story of what was possible. Maya Johnson stood by the large windows of the Langston Enterprises headquarters, gazing out at the city skyline. The journey she had traveled seemed almost surreal. From the quiet janitor who cleaned the empty hallways late at night, she had grown into one of the most respected members of the company's leadership team. It was a new beginning not only for her but for the entire organization. Her role as cultural liaison had expanded far beyond what anyone had imagined. She now oversaw global communication strategies, helped train new employees in cultural sensitivity, and worked closely with international partners to build bridges of trust and understanding. Every day, she was reminded that her skills were valuable, and that she was seen. Maya's family life had also changed. With her increased income and stability, she was able to provide better support for her younger siblings. She enrolled in advanced courses, continuing to develop her talents. Her confidence blossomed, and she carried herself with a quiet pride that came from knowing her worth. At Langston Enterprises, the company culture had shifted permanently. The story of Maya's rise was shared during orientation sessions for new hires. It became a symbol of hope, proof that background or title did not determine potential. Employees were encouraged to embrace diversity in every form, to seek out hidden talents, and to believe in second chances. David Langston often told Maya that her story had changed his perspective as much as it changed the company's. He had learned that leadership meant recognizing people's true abilities, even when they didn't fit traditional molds. Maya's success had pushed Langston Enterprises to become more innovative, inclusive, and stronger in the global market. As the sun set, casting a golden glow across the office, Maya reflected on how far she had come. The struggles, the doubts, the moments of fear, they were all part of a path that led her to this place. She had stepped beyond the shadows and claimed her place in the light. Her story was far from over. It was a continuing journey of growth, change, and opportunity. But one thing was clear: Maya Johnson was no longer invisible. She had become a beacon of perseverance, talent, and hope. Her new beginning was a promise to herself and to others who might feel unseen. That with courage and support, anyone could rise beyond expectations and transform their world.